Welcome to a Celtic State of Mind. We have been here all season watching the games, good, bad and indifferent. My name's Paul John Dykes, and today, in slightly different surroundings for the pre-match anyway, I'm joined by Laura Bradburn and Anthony Haggerty. How are you doing for the final game of the season, guys?
Not too bad.
Good, Paul. How are you? How are you, Laura? All right?
Not too bad, yep.
It was interesting to come in as your guest yesterday, Laura. Thanks for having me, by the way.
It was like hosting somebody in their own house. It was weird.
I did make the comment off camera that I thought you had a glorious future behind you. PJB. You did well.
Now, yeah, it was. We'll talk about the team. We'll talk all about the team, but we do actually have Natasha at Easter Road. Now, at the beginning of the season, I kind of thought, how good would that be? You know, how they do it on Sky Sports. Let's talk to Tony at, Almondvale or some other beautiful part of Scotland. But today we've actually done it. We've got Natasha in Easter Road. And Dingwall or East End Park, maybe. Central Park, Cowdenbeath, perhaps. But we're going to zoom over. It just shows you the wonders of modern technology. We're going to zoom over to Easter Road. It may be quite difficult because Natasha's sitting in the stand, and there'll be various other environmental issues in relation to tannoys and music and face masks and everything else. But let's just pop over and we'll see Natasha's thoughts on getting back into the football stadium first and foremost. Here we go.
Hi guys.
Natasha Meikle, you're at Easter Road. Yeah, very well, very well.
Hello.
Excellent. Hi guys.
How are you?
How does it feel to be back in a stadium?
Amazing to be here. Absolutely amazing to be here. I have to say, I woke up this morning like it was Christmas morning and I was a child again. I was getting back into a football stadium to see Celtic play live. Honestly, absolutely amazing just to be back, to walk up to the stadium, to climb up all the steps, up to the press box. And even just, I'm watching right now, right ahead of me, the boys are all warming up. And yeah, it's just great to be here. The sun is shining. It's literally sunshine on leaf. And yeah, nice to be back.
Oh God, Natasha, I've got to say the jealousy is seeping out of my pores. If you could see me now, it must be an amazing feeling.
I hope you get a big jacket, Natasha, because it's freezing in that press box, even when it's sunshine on leaf. Trust me.
Well, you know, I have actually noticed that. It was a lot warmer walking up than it is sitting away up here.
You'll find out.
I'll take it.
Good on you.
I think for next season, what we need to do is get the ACSOM jackets ready and the microphone with the ACSOM muffs on them as well, Natasha. But you're going to be in a privileged position today because you are going to be one of the very few Celtic supporters who will see the final appearance of Scott Brown. Talk us through your opportunity to have a wee chat with him during the week as well, Natasha.
Yeah, it was great. Like everyone else, it's going to be so emotional to watch Brown do his final game for Celtic. It was emotional enough seeing his last appearance at Celtic Park, but we knew we'd get to see him one more time at Easter Road today. After today, we won't see that. And yeah, lucky enough to have the opportunity to attend his press conference through the week with Scott, and he was excellent as he always is. Really chatty, really friendly. And after, we finished asking our questions, he said a bit to us as well, just to thank us and the fans in general for all their support over the time at the club and how appreciative him and his family were for that. So that was lovely, and it was nice for him to be able to do that one more time before he is off to Aberdeen for a new challenge.
So when Scott Brown is inevitably taken off after 60 minutes today, Natasha, I'm sure will show your true colours by giving him a round of applause.
I have to. Of course I do. For all the fans who'd love to be here who can't be here, I will certainly be applauding Scott Brown off the pitch today.
That's outstanding. What's your thoughts on the team then? Not much has changed. We kind of thought or hoped that Karamoko Dembele might get some minutes today, but he's not starting.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, but then on the same hand, not too surprised. If Kennedy was going to make any wholesale changes, I think he would probably have done it before now anyway. So he's keeping the ship steady till the end of the season, and that's clearly been his game plan, is just to keep us steady until the end of the season before hopefully he's handing over. Would I have liked to see more changes in the team? Yes. Am I surprised that there isn't? Probably not.
Well, Natasha, we will dial back in at half-time to hear your thoughts directly from Easter Roads and at full-time as well. Enjoy the game and we'll see you at half-time.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy it. I'll report back at half-time.
Enjoy.
Yes.
How jealous are you of that? Fans back in the stadium.
Not to get all girly about it, I'm actually quite emotional. It's kind of weird to see, Natasha, a supporter, back in the stadium. Hopefully it's the first step for everybody, but great to see her there, great to be getting that coverage direct from the stadium, and I think it's a fantastic thing for all of us and for everybody watching, that we feel like there's a connection getting back there and seeing the team in the flesh.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, there's been a lot of work done behind the scenes, Laura, whereby we've been trying to set up a Celtic state of mind as a bona fide media company from day one, really. And I think we're getting some of the fruits of the labour now, being invited into Easter Road. We're also going to be speaking to Celtic next week, and hopefully those discussions will result in far more involvement next season, which all the contributors, I'm hoping, can get involved in as well. Tony Haggerty, that can only be a good thing to bridge that kind of mainstream and alternative gap.
Of course it can. I mean, in any kind of business and you want to reach out to people, the biggest thing is communication. That's all we've wanted from day one. For the club to communicate with you and give you a fair crack and let be representative of every fan base out there. So I don't see the problem. With ACSOM getting access to press conferences and football games. We call it as we see it. And yeah, if we have to be critical, we'll be critical. And I don't think that's a bad thing. You have to be able to shine a light on the deficiencies at the club if you see fit. But we never, I've said this before and we say it all the time, we never get personal. We just want what's best for Celtic Football Club. And if things haven't gone well this season, we can all see that, so, and everybody wants this season over, but it's a kind of landmark day for ACSOM with Natasha being there, so I kind of came on and my first thought was 10cc, load up with dead rubber bullets, but I guess for ACSOM it's a wee bit more important than that. It's a big step that we've taken today with Natasha being in the stadium, and hopefully we can end up friends with Celtic and they can speak to us and communicate on a regular basis, and we can also get messages out there to support us. That's all we want. That's all we've wanted from day one. We're not here to sabre rattle or, but I mean, we'll call it as we see it. I don't think
Absolutely.
You can
Tony,
ask for anything more.
I mean, you spent 2 decades in the mainstream media. How far has alternative media come in that time? I mean, you would have remembered, like myself, back in the fanzine days where it was, sometimes a group of guys around a bar table planning the next move, and there was like street movements, and it was tremendous. The work that they guys did, particularly the boys at the Not the View, a fanzine I was a huge fan of back in the day. And then obviously when you see how that's developed into the kind of like modern day where we're able to do podcasts live like this and even broadcast from the stadium, how far has that moved on and developed?
It's monumental. Let's be honest. It's a seismic shift in the kind of media. I mean, if you want to, for want of a better expression, this is kind of the new media, isn't it? Fans are tuning into this rather than club channels and maybe even buying newspapers, and other forms of media. But being a newspaper man, I would always encourage people to buy newspapers, but I can hear the Celtic fans going, "I'm not buying a newspaper." But I always said it was personal choice, with whatever newspaper you bought, but I'm from that generation. So to see all this happening, it is incredible. It's came on, honestly, it leaps and bounds. Because before, when I first started, you'd be lucky if there would be 5 or 6 guys from the main newspapers in a press conference with any manager. We all knew each other, and so there was that was it, and it was a close shop. Let's not kid us, and that's why the job that I did, I loved it. It was highly coveted, and you felt that you were part of something special. I still do. I'm still a journalist to trade, so I didn't stop being a journalist, So, but it was you were really proud of that. You were part of some kind of exclusive club, And now the more it's branched out, and with fan media getting in and online media getting in, I think it's terrific. It's absolutely terrific. And it's the way forward.
It definitely is.
People have to embrace that.
I think so. I'm going to speak about that, Tony, because there's some developments with the club, which I'll go through with yourself and Laura. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop out for 5 minutes, because we had an Underground Grooves soul show on in the main room in the studio, which had just finished. And I'm going to jump onto my normal perch, and I'll let you and Laura talk about the side. Laura might even want to talk about some of the things she's been running on Twitter in relation to ex-Celts, looking at their previous careers. Guess the Celt. I think I guessed them right. So, Laura, I'm going to leave ACSOM in your capable hands for the next 5 minutes while I go back into the studio.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, Tony, did you see my Celtic player career list? Did you have a guess in mind?
I did. I got the two of them. You forgot to put up yesterday's, which was
Vidar it was Vidar Riseth was the first one. So yeah.
And I got the second one from the Arsenal, and then the Celtic appearance. That I mean, people say that he made 2 appearances, but I was always of the opinion that he made 1, and it wasn't a good one. So we'll just go back. But for those wanting to know, it was Scott Marshall, wasn't it? With that
Scott Marshall.
Yeah.
Scott Marshall, because in my understanding as well was he's a famous Celtic quiz question. Who's the only player in Celtic history to have made his single appearance for the club playing against Rangers, and it's Scott Marshall. So he's an interesting one. There will be another one whenever we're next back on. It's become quite a fun wee game to play. I saw it. A podcast that I've appeared on in the past called Man in the Post did it for, I mean, they're not Celtic related, but they did it as a general kind of game, and I thought we'll make it Celtic related, because obviously we have a Celtic state of mind.
It's a good thing to do, because, unless you're cheating, of course, but it's great to sit there and try and work it out,
That's the rule, everybody. If you're going to play a long play, house rules are no phones, just your noggin.
No cheating.
But looking at today's team, I think the big disappointment that we both had, no Karamoko Dembele. What do you make of that?
I'm scunnered with that, to be honest. I mean, we spoke yesterday, and we said it was a win-win if he played. I mean, what's the problem here? It is a dead rubber. Yeah, we want to win. I mean, that's a player that's a potential match winner. Mm-hmm. So why not play him? I can't work that one out. It's the last game of the season. It's a season we want to finish. Go and finish with a flourish. Let the wee man loose. Mm-hmm. I would have to be sat down by John Kennedy himself, and personally, for him to explain why he's not played the wee man. Because he came on and he looked bright and he scored a lovely goal, and confidence will be high, and he probably wanted to play himself. We Karamoko, so and I think the fans would have wanted to see him. So it's disappointing for me.
Yeah, I think that's something that we're hoping with getting access to the games and things like that. These are the kind of questions we can hopefully speak directly to the staff and the players about and see what their answers are. Bad for him, bad for Montgomery as well, I feel. Didn't really do much wrong in his last game, and yet he's out of the team. I mean, what do you make of that one?
Honestly, I mean, this is a day to just showcase your younger talent, isn't it?
I would say so, yeah.
I'm looking at the Hibs team. They've got a couple of youngsters playing, haven't they? I know I
think so, yeah.
Preparing for a cup final and stuff, and I get that. But, I mean, the whole season's been dreadful from start to finish. And we do want it over, but it's just a chance to maybe look at the future and, see if we could end in a high and a couple of bright spots maybe appear from that, like Dembele, like Montgomery, and others. But, as I say, I'm disappointed with Kennedy in that front. It's like it's a game that you never want to see Celtic get beaten. They never mean nothing, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like shrug of the shoulder stuff, isn't it? You just want the season to be over, but you want to go out with a win.
It's a little bit. I mean, I just think, like you say, with the season being over, the only way it couldn't have been made a dead rubber if you take apart the fact that it's Scott Brown's last game is if you invested the supporters' minds in what they're looking at and who they're looking at for the future. Montgomery being one, Dembele being another.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, without a doubt.
I think Colin Watt would be a better place to to name who it might be. But, I mean, yeah, I kind of looked at the team and I was a bit shrug of the shoulders is what I thought.
I bet your heart sank when you looked at the team. You just kind of, you were kind of maybe inflated for it, and then saw the team and you just kind of, your shoulders slunk and you were just like, oh, well, revert to type. After us speaking yesterday and saying, well, we'd like to see this, and feeling excited about a so-called dead rubber, and and Kennedy's just reverted to type, so you just go, right, well, fair enough. And you've got to think to yourself, well, we care. The fans care. You show us that you care, even if it's the last game and it's your last game at the helm. Show that you care and give us something that we want, just for once, But no, he's just reverted to type, as I say, so we'll see what happens.
Looking at some of the players that are heading out the door potentially with this won't only be Scott Brown's last game in the Hoops, I would imagine. Odsonne Edouard, everybody's of the assumption that he will be on his way at some point over the summer. What about his impact? What about, this season aside, obviously, none of the team has performed to their best, but looking back at his time at the club, what do you make of his impact and the success he's helped bring to the club?
I think Odsonne Edouard showed on many occasions why he was a £9 million player. I just think this season he's kind of tarnished that legacy a bit, because when in the season when we wanted him most to step up to the plate, he looked as if he couldn't be bothered, or he'd spat the dummy at the fact that he hadn't left already, and circumstances dictated that. You see, when you're out there, get it. I've spoke before about Moussa Dembele, and there was chalk and cheese with the two of them. I know Moussa's not stayed as long as them, Edouard, but Moussa got it, and he turned up in all the big games, and he was a team player. There was a fine individual skill that he had, but he was always a team player. And I just think Odsonne let us down a wee bit on that, but I think he's a phenomenal talent, and I hope he goes on to reach the dizzy heights that his career deserves, the platform that he deserves. But, a lot of Celtic supporters will be conflicted because of the way he played this season. I never accuse a player of down in tools and no trying, but at times this season you looked at him and thought, your head is elsewhere, and you're disappointed that you're not whatever you think you should be. And for that, I thought it affected his performance. Not him solely, but we looked up to him. He was our talisman in the previous years, and provided us with some wonderful moments. So I'm not going to... I thank him for that. They were great, but just this season, I think a lot of people kind of should hold their heads in shame a wee bit, because it didn't turn out the way the fans wanted it. Not the way we expected it, just the way we wanted it. You've got to earn that right every time you go on that park and play, and I think a lot of the players didn't do that.
I'm in total agreement. I think the one thing we expect from Celtic players, regardless of ability or impact on a game, is their ability to always try their best. Henrik Larsson, and this is not me trying to be too nostalgic about it or whatever, most of his appeal to Celtic fans, apart from his world-class ability and his goals and everything like that, was even if he wasn't having a great game, you never doubted that he was trying his best. You never doubted that he was putting his all in. Some days it just didn't come off, but you never doubted that he was there to try and win the match, and that is what people admire as much as anything. But anyway, I will hand back over to the host extraordinaire, and I must apologise for comparing you to Tom Cruise yesterday, because you get some less than complimentary retorts to that, and I think I set you up for that one.
Well, I'm used to it. Can everybody hear me, first and foremost?
We can.
I'm used to that, Laura, and I can take it. You've got to be thick-skinned in this game, let me tell you. I have been likened to worse than Tom Cruise, let's just say that. Now, I'm looking at some of the comments coming through, and David Kelly comes in. I'm only on here to moan about the team. As soon as I saw the lineup, I made other plans from 12:30. Never felt as sick a club as now. It's getting worse every day. We haven't hit rock bottom yet. there's a lot of discussion online, I think, as well, Tony, around how the club have already communicated since the early arrival of the incoming CEO, Dominic Mackay. And these communications have been through the fan groups, the big fan groups, associations, the affiliations, the Celtic Trust, the Green Brigade, and others, and then individually with fans in the fans forum. And I think Celtic fans are less than impressed with the communication so far.
Well, me and Laura spoke about the Only an Excuse skit, remember? And somebody put it up online, and my Twitter feed's been bombarded with people just saying, yep, it might be dated, but it's so relevant with the hashtag use money, right? And it was a joke, I was joking, but you know, it kind of smacked to that a wee bit, didn't it? And a lot of the fans haven't been impressed. And I've been getting it tight for saying that Dominic Mackay showed a lack of professionalism with the noisy neighbours reference. Stand by that. I just think you have to be professional and not give your rivals any kind of, any ammunition to fire back at you further down the line.
They'll take it as a badge of honour, Anthony. They'll take that as a badge of honour. If you fast forward a year down the line and it hasn't gone as planned, that quote, the noisy neighbours, as I say, that will be taken as a badge of honour by the Rangers support.
I expect better from people in those high positions. I said that yesterday. Call them Rangers. That's it. Let it go. And that's whatever. And I don't. People say, no, the Rangers don't respect us. This, that, and the next thing. I don't particularly care if Rangers disrespect Celtic or whatever, but I care about my club and the way we conduct our business, and that's it. I don't care what noises come from Rangers or whatever, but I care about the people, the custodians of my club, because they're holding high office. So conduct yourself like the way that I want you. You're ambassadors for the club, right? You're in a position, an exalted position that all of us would love to be in, but we're not. So you are our spokespersons. So act like in a manner befitting of the office that you're in.
Yeah.
Right.
Act accordingly. Absolutely.
That's what I want. I want the highest. You hear me bang on about it all the time. I want the highest standards for the club. I want the highest bar manager and the highest bar calibre of people in these positions. I don't think that's too much to ask, and to conduct yourself in a proper manner.
No, absolutely. Laura, you look at some of the clubs down south and, prompted in some way by the fallout from the European Super League, I'm sure. But there are clubs, fastly announcing that fans will be represented in board meetings. There will be fan representation, and a lot of supporters and groups have been pushing for that at Celtic for some time. I think the feeling I get is you look at the feedback from the fans groups, because obviously we weren't part of that particular communication, but you look at the feedback from the likes of Celtic Shared, for example, who have been quite vocal about it, and the Celtic Trust on social media. And then obviously we had an insight into the fans forum ourselves, and we've seen that for what it was. And I had a brief moment yesterday where I was able to come in and share my views, but there was a few other wee bits that caught fire since I spoke about it. I mean, the first introduction, the opening kind of like contributor did say, I'm a Celtic fan, therefore I'll be buying 6 Celtic season tickets and everybody should follow suit. That was absolutely music to the ears of the Celtic boardroom, because that's what they want you to do. They want you not to ask any questions, not to challenge their position, even if their position is untenable at times, as Tony has suggested. And I just get this sense that the Celtic boardroom of today are, it's like an old boys club. They're completely out of touch with the fan base, and that needs to change. Now, will that change come, do you think, with the introduction of a new approach and new ideas by someone like Dominic Mackay? I would hope so.
I would hope so as well. What I think is obvious from some of the comments that I've heard about what was said yesterday, or at the fans forum, is he's a guy who obviously sees that there's change required at the club. whether he's comfortable coming out and admitting how much change is required, is maybe he's feeling a bit hamstrung by his current position and by the fact, let's not forget, that the previous custodian, to use Tony's word, of his role is still in post at the moment. So maybe he's feeling a bit hamstrung by that and not willing to say what he really wants to say. But to talk about it in a wider sense and how the board seem to have lost a bit of connection is, and I say this, I have to clarify by saying I've seen a lot of Celtic podcasts and fan media saying, I think I speak on behalf of a lot of the Celtic support. I want to clarify, anything I say on this platform is my opinion. I don't speak for you, I don't speak for Tony, I don't speak for a Celtic state of mind. On a wider level, I don't speak for the Celtic support. I can only say what I think. What I think is the board, and I think football clubs in general, have become far too invested in selling themselves as commercial entities to other commercial entities to combined make money, forgetting, these other commercial entities are only interested in Celtic as a football club because of the customer base that they offer them. And the customer base that they offer them should be us. What they don't realise is if they don't keep in connection with us, they have a diminishing customer base to sell to the partners that they're trying to sell their product to. And if they don't appease us in that way, then they can't make the money that they obviously want to make. I'm not sitting here saying I don't want a club that thinks about making money and I don't want a club that's financially motivated, because let's face it, we're in 2021. If you want to be a successful football club, finances have to be at the forefront of your thinking as well. But they have to remember what makes them an attractive financial prospect to other companies, and it is the customer base, if you want to put it that way, that is the fans.
The only constant, and I remember someone bringing up the point of the St. Pauli model, right? And they were asking, right, it's great to have these radical viewpoints, and I think that that's important for a club like Celtic, but do you want to be playing in the second tier and never competing in Europe? So there's a balance to be struck there. We know that there's an aspect of commercialism that has to play a part in Celtic's success, of course there does. We're not so blinded to that fact, but there has to be some kind of meeting ground, some kind of middle ground, Laura, whereby the club and the fans come together. And at the moment, I think we're miles away at this particular time. The dude Abide comes in to bring me right back down to earth by saying Tom Cruise's grand, maybe. Cheers, pal. Bizarrely enough, on my dad's side, there are Cruises, so you never know. Has he got some kind of heritage in Alloa? I don't know. I'll need to check that, Laura, but probably not. But that's my take on it, Tony. I've never felt so kind of removed from the boardroom. Now, what I've got to say here before I say this is there are people at that club who are fantastic ambassadors for the club. They're Celtic fans through and through. We deal with certain people. If you send JP Taylor a message, he will get back to you, and you know that he's a Celtic supporter and he's trying his best, and he's under a lot of pressure in that position. Certain members of the media team, we get in touch with them, they help us, they assist us, they communicate with us. I'm not getting at any of these folk. I'm getting at the guys, and I'm going to say one female, on the board. That's who I'm getting at. I'm getting at them because they're the decision makers. They actually look at Celtic supporters with nothing but contempt. Everything we do is wrong, and they keep telling each other, what we're doing is right here, and they keep us in the dark. And then, at some point in the next fortnight, we expect the season ticket renewals to drop, and it will be, here's the season tickets, pay up. That what's the added value? I've heard some rumours around what that's going to be, and I don't think Celtic fans are going to be too chuffed with the added value. I don't think it actually bears any resemblance to what we are expecting. So, Tony, I've said before, we're as far removed now as we have been since pre-Fergus McCann times.
You said 3 words yesterday, and it struck a chord with me, and it kind of made me sad. You said business, football, charity, in that order. That's never Celtic. Never been the latter day Celtic, and it should never be the modern day Celtic. And I get the fact that football's a business and all that, but if that's priorities in that order, then it's sadly wrong, and that's why there's a massive disconnect with the fans. because it's only a few, select few, that know about the business world. The rest of us inhabit the football and the charitable world. It's a fact.
Oh, you're right. It should not be a BFC, business football charity.
And who makes up the greater amount of people? Certainly not the business people.
No.
It's the football people and the charitable ones. So, come on. You know, so, and I get on the people say, it's a business and all this kind of stuff. I do get all that. But I think we've driven down that business road so much that we're now poles apart. And the conflict, and I spoke about it a long time ago, that the infighting now amongst factions of the Celtic support, that really, it saddens your heart, really, to see that people jumping on each other, you know, going to Twitter, and it's a cesspit every day. I mean, you should be pulling in the same direction. To quote Russell's singing from the same spreadsheet, as he said, yeah. You know what I mean? So that's, and we should be, and why aren't we? Yet when Brendan Rodgers came in, we seemed to manage the business arm, the football arm, and the charitable arm. They all went hand in hand, and everything was fantastic. So it can be achieved.
Tony, they do go hand in hand. If you manage the football arm, everything will follow. And you've said it plenty of times before, and I totally agree.
Yeah, totally. So why is there? Well, we've spoke all season. Those at the top and the lady we mentioned, they've caused this disconnect. They've caused this chasm. And in a few days' time, they're going to say, these money, these are 600 quid. That's basically what they're going to say.
Yeah, and it was Stevie Ray that reminded us of the sketch, because he posted it last night again. So cheers for that, Stevie. Alex Ferguson once called Man City the noisy neighbours, and ever since they've dominated Man United. You've got to be careful. Every word, you're going to hang up your jacket on every single word in this game, Tony. The game has kicked off. Natasha Meikle of A Celtic State of Mind is representing us at Easter Road, and we'll be hearing from Natasha and Anthony and Laura at half time. Enjoy the first half, and thank you for joining us on A Celtic State of